What's your glitch in the Matrix story? An older woman at a grocery store left the lights on her car and the battery died. I saw her trying to get it started. I went over and asked her if she needed help. She said she wasn't sure what was wrong. I looked and said the battery was dead, but I have cables and can help her. I gave the car a jump and she was good to go. She thanked me and left. I went into the store and came back out and there was another older woman in the same make, model and color of her car parked a row over with a car that wouldn't start. I was sure it was her and walked over and asked what happened now. The woman looks at me confused and said we've never met before. It was a different woman. I thought I was going insane. Her issue was with the starter. Rocked the car a bit and it started. Maybe you're actually dead and those women were years apart. Good guy ghost. Had a cat I rescued from the shelter, living with 2 other guys in a house that did not allow pets. Cat got out and ran away. 2 years later I was at the shelter looking for another rescue cat. I recognize Yoko, my cat from 2 years ago. She answered to her name and jumped into my arms when she saw me. Rescued the same cat twice. My friend and I were once outside his house while he changed his girlfriend's car battery. It was after dark and it was super foggy out that night. We were just talking when suddenly a white light flashed from everywhere for a split second. We looked around to see what could have caused it but didn't see anything. None of the neighbors' lights were on. No cars were nearby. Nothing. To this day, we remain convinced that a Terminator went back in time to his neighborhood. I was waiting for my son's football match to start, so I went to get a coffee. There was 2 people serving. One was a lady who was bending down sorting out stuff under the counter and a bloke standing up. He looks at me and asks, "What you having, mate?" I reply, "Black coffee please." "No problem," he says. "Sugar?" "2 please, mate," I say. The lady stands up and nods at me as if to say hello. I nod back and turn around to see if my lad's game has started. When I turn my attention back to the coffee stand, they are back in the same position. "What you having, mate?" he says again. Black coffee," I say. "No problem." "Sugar?" 2. The lady straightens and nods at me. It was so weird that I felt off for the rest of the day. I regret not saying "Didn't we just do this?" but for whatever reason I just wandered off. When I was 8 and my sister was 12, my parents got us both parakeets for Christmas. Terrible loud as heck gift. What were they thinking? I had a yellow one I named Sunny and my sister had a blue one named Skylar. They were the first pets we had that were exclusively ours, and we played with them every day for about 3 months. We taught them a couple tricks like to fly and perch on our fingers and follow our other finger around side to side. Made them look like they were dancing, I think. Anyway, my bub Sunny was in a freak accident and eventually died of his injuries. I was heartbroken. RIP fam. A few months later my dad's job gets transferred to a city 3 hours away. My sister was told she needed to release Skylar to the wild, aka suburbs, cause she wasn't going to move with the family. So in a tearful ceremony we opened Skylar's cage and that bird bolted out of there, flew over the neighbor's house to be gone forever. So we thought. Flash forward almost 5 years later, living in a new city, having completely forgotten about the birds. My family goes camping to a state park just outside of town for a week. During our little family trip to this beautiful corner of Texas, me and my sister decide to go play on the jungle gym, and while we are sitting on the top, a light blue parakeet identical to Skylar comes flying down and lands right next to us on the jungle gym, letting out a friendly chirp. Me and my sister both froze and looked at each other and back at the bird and slowly say, "Skylar." The bird lets out another friendly chirp and I decide that this is definitely Skylar. I stick out my finger next to her and she jumps on my finger just like we had taught her almost 2 years before. And I start to move my finger on my other hand side to side and she starts swaying, just like we taught her. Me and my sister lose our crap. Our long lost bird had found us. We say we have to take her back home and the bird lets out another little chirp and flies away. We couldn't shut up about it 4 weeks after. TLDR. My long lost parakeet found me after 2 years. F for the sunny burb. About 2 years ago I was driving up a short hill in the overtaking lane. I was attempting to overtake a particularly slow car. I was going far too fast. I absolutely knew this but was somehow fine with it. Then I had a burst of adrenaline and decided to accelerate even harder to overtake the car. before the overtaking lane merged back into one lane. Sometimes I don't think I was successful. I think after I crested the hill I was two abreast in the now single lane. A truck was in the opposite lane starting to come up to the hill and I think I hit it at the right hand side, the truck driver's left side, straight on, at considerable speed. I remember looking at the truck and thinking I'm going to hit it but feeling that that's okay, everything is going to be fine. I think I saw the front of the truck hit and crumple the left side of my car, saw it come right up to my face then, for a second, nothing but black. A moment later I was parked by a small factory type building about half a mile down the road. I remember my skin feeling prickly and tingly and I felt the adrenaline whoosh out of my body. I cut my journey short and just went home. Now, on occasion things just feel left of center. The world just feels a little more grey and cold and I mean that literally and figuratively. My family and friends seem absolutely the same and I'm very happy in my life but some things in the world just seem off. This seems absolutely ridiculous to say but sometimes I'll be in a place and I'll get an odd, uncomfortable feeling and then the place seems to flash to warmth and sunlight and happiness. It then goes back to this slightly off, grayer place. I see the same physical place but for a while it seems much more beautiful. I'll read an article or listen to the radio and I'll think that that's not how it's supposed to be. So I'll Google it and sure enough I was wrong. It's not all the time and it doesn't worry me. As I said my personal life is the same and I'm happy. It's the outside world that sometimes feels so off and so wrong. Things appear. I'll pass an area 1000 times and then one day there's something that's always been there. I don't believe. I remember once I had to be up at 7:20 to get ready to do something. I woke up, saw it was 20 past. I showered, brushed my teeth, dressed, had breakfast, got my stuff together and had a bit of spare time so had a read. Then I noticed it was really quiet and still quite dark. I had woken at 12:20. I had only slept for 20 minutes. This was truly bizarre. I had no choice but to go back to bed. Then I woke at 8, late for my appointment. Related, one time I pulled an all-nighter at my friend's house. I went to sleep at around 4 the next day and woke up at 6. I started getting ready for school only for my parents to tell me supper was ready. I had only slept 2 hours and felt fully rested. Not really a glitch in the matrix but it felt like my entire world was out of sync for a few hours. I was wrapping Christmas presents at our dining room table. I used scissors to cut the wrapping paper. I set the scissors down on the table, finished some final taping on the present, then carried the present over to the tree. When I returned to the table 30 seconds later, the scissors were gone. I'm known for losing things right in front of my face, so I called my wife into the room to help me look. I assumed she would find them in a few seconds and laugh at me, but not this time. We looked everywhere, including emptying the trash can just in case I accidentally threw them away while tossing away scraps of wrapping paper. After quite a bit of a searching, we both gave up and said well they'll turn up eventually. We witnessed the presents being opened a few weeks later and the scissors didn't wind up wrapped along with the present, so we ruled that out. We moved 4 years later and those dang scissors never turned up. Our running joke was gnomes took them. Now whenever anything is lost, we chuckle dang gnomes. It's actually a Mexican myth that gnomes tend to take anything out of your sight in exchange of candies. My grandpa owned a store and would always lose everything and just disappear out of thin air, just like your scenario, and started leaving candy around and it just stop. I don't know if it's a truth myth or not but it's pretty scary. My fiance's fish jumped out of its tank. Never seen again, not even the corpse. They don't have any other animal and the floor was clear. When fish leave the water of their own accord they have a brief moment where they can teleport. If you fish them out they're stuck until you put them back. It's an old genie curse on all fish. My grandmother said to me one day, did you see that thing on the news about that man being murdered in a sleepy town where nothing happened near our home? I hadn't, so I asked her more questions. And she told me he was in his 70s and he was found with head injuries and a man in his 20s had been arrested. I checked the news later that day and didn't see anything about it. Then a week later it happened. Not long after she told me about a cruise ship sinking. A week later Costa Concordia. She tells me things in TV shows before they're on and talks about plane crashes and earthquakes and stuff before they happen too. The recurring theme is that they're all things she says she's seen on TV. Walked into a convenience store and was greeted by a worker with a "Hi, how ya doing?" I replied fine. Went to the soda aisle and was greeted by the same women. "Hi, how ya doing?" Me being a little weirded out how this woman could have ran around the aisle to beat me there. Grab my soda and head to the checkout and the lady is behind the freaking counter. I was very high and this was freaking me out. Then her sister came behind the counter. They were twins working in the store and I'm laughing the whole time I'm checking out. "Hi, how you're doing?" I was very high. I watched the Avengers a few years before it was released, specifically the 1998 movie with Sean Connery, not the Marvel one. I still remember my surprise when seeing this movie on the new release shelf at the rental place in the grocery store. I knew I had watched it a while ago, so I figured they were just misplaced, until I checked the date on the back of the case and saw it was for the current year. I had my mom check it out, as I just had to know. I wasn't sure it was the same movie until I saw people in colored bear suits at a conference table. I have no idea how this happened, but my younger brother also remembered watching it too. I had just put my drill down and it suddenly wasn't there. I knew for a fact that I hadn't moved, so I put my hand out and touched it, whereupon it just appeared. I am sure there is some scientific reason for this, but frag me, it bothered me for quite a while. Me and my parents were looking for the car in a shopping mall parking lot. We just left the late night movie session, so it's quite empty because the mall is closed. We left the car in the 6th floor, so we go to the elevator and press 6. The doors open and we're on the 5th floor. We walk back inside and press 6 again. Doors open and we're on the 7th. Okay, there's probably some issue with the elevator. We look for another one. Same thing happens. We try another one and there's no number 6. Okay, let's take the stairs. There's no door for the 6th floor. So after about 40 minutes wandering around thinking we entered a wormhole and are stuck in a freaking parking lot, we suddenly end up on the 6th floor and find the car. Spooky. Maybe there was a murderer or crazy person there that you just missed by a few minutes because of your getting lost. Or some people were getting it on and the universe wanted to give them some privacy. This might be a little different, but here we go. I was at a Cub Scout day camp where we did fun activities AP day, go home to sleep, and the repeat for several days. I don't remember how long. One of these activities was archery. Now if you've ever been in an archery range, you know that you need to follow the range master's commands or else you'd be kicked out of a range. Now as a fidgety 10-year-old, I got bored and started to screw with what I could. We were at the point where we could hold our bows but not grab an arrow. So, I decided to mime shooting an arrow. I neither had an arrow nor even pulled back the strong of the bow, but when I let go of the string, a balloon pinned to my archery target popped. I panicked because the pop made a huge sound and the 60-something rangemaster walked over to me and asked if I fired an arrow, which I didn't. Still have no idea how that balloon popped in perfect timing to my mimed shot. TLDR. I pretended to shoot a bow and arrow and a balloon in front of me popped. You're a wizard. 3 years into high school, sat at the same benches as always. I look up into the courtyard and go, huh, is that tree new? One lone tree. Apparently had been there the whole time, but I just didn't see it for 3 years. Had a dream I was sitting down for a pancake breakfast and the waiter asked if I wanted milk or OJ. 3 weeks later, at the same restaurant from my dream, had never been there before, had the same waiter, who I had never seen before, ask me if I wanted milk or OJ. I was in the office during my lunch break at my old job and was busy on the computer doing a task that was taking up most of my attention. My colleague and I's cubicles were in a corner directly opposite our manager's office, and we were the only ones in the office finishing up this task while everyone was out to lunch. We both distinctly remember our manager walking out of his office and going past us to leave for lunch. We are concentrating on what we are doing, so we barely look up, but say goodbye when he goes by. Maybe 10 minutes later, our manager walks out of his office again to leave for lunch. We were stunned. There were no other entries into his office and there was no way he could have gone back into his office without walking by our cubicles and us seeing him. When I was younger, I was at my neighbor's house playing on the Wii they had just gotten for Christmas, and we were recording our experience for some reason. We were in their bedroom, and on the wall right of the TV is a closet with a sliding door. Well, at one point in the video moved to the closet for a second or two, probably when my neighbor was paying more attention to the TV than to recording. For a very brief second a magazine pops out of the closet and then shoots back in. We didn't realize this happened until we rewatched the video a little while later, and we all thought this was strange, so we tore the closet apart looking for anything that could have been even mistaken for a magazine and found nothing. Mind you, no one had gone in or out of the room or closet. A few days later we were looking for the video to show our parents because they didn't believe us, and it had been deleted off of the phone or iPad or whatever we were using. All the other videos were there, but that specific one was deleted. It was freaky. TLDR. Filmed a video of a disappearing magazine and then video is mysteriously deleted. Well, a girl in my high school class that sits next to me suddenly changed skin color one day, black to brown. And I was like, OHH, guess she moved. Then everyone is calling her the same name and I am like, wow, what a coincidence, but she also has the same last name, Suwu. She wasn't fully rendered. Was tripping with a few friends and one of the other guy's girlfriends and I connected. Had a weird revelation and saw envisioned as married. We had just met like a few weeks before. 7 years later and we're married with 2 beautiful children. Glitch in the Matrix or just the LSD talking? I'll let you decide. Regardless, coolest and trippiest moment of my life. One day back when I was in 3rd grade, I took a break from my usual lunchtime activities, which mainly included either digging in the sand or getting up to inadvisable mischief, to watch a few of my friends attempt to play basketball. The sport didn't really interest me, but I'd had the idea that I could hang out on the sidelines and provide amusing commentary to the other people who were eating their lunch there. So I sat down at where I thought the best vantage point would be and just started running my mouth off. For the first several minutes, everything progressed about as one would expect. My friends managed to score a few points. I prompted a few laughs and a few shouts of "shut up," and the game continued with as much action and fervor as a group of 8-year-olds could manage. Then, as one of the kids lobbed a shot toward the basket, something very strange happened. The ball arced through the air, hit against the rim, and froze. Not only that, but everything froze. Each of the students, every piece of windblown trash, and even every sound just stopped. It was like being inside an eerily accurate gallery of statues. A second or two passed before I realized that I was rambling at a completely stationary world. And as soon as I did, the passage of time righted itself. The world resumed from precisely the same second when it had frozen, with everything and everyone continuing as though nothing had happened. Now, the logical conclusion is that I had a mild seizure or something, and that my brain just filled in gaps after I recovered. The thing is, though, I can remember talking during the moment of stillness, slowly realizing that something was wrong, then feeling my heart pound with the beginnings of panic. I wasn't trapped in that motionless world for very long, I'll grant you, and there's probably a perfectly reasonable explanation. But even so, part of me still feels like I experienced a glitch in reality. Apparently the planet needs more RAM. TLDR. The world ran out of memory for a few moments. Wow, just wow. Every time I'm walking in the park, I walk behind my tall friends. With that being said, I sometimes run through spider webs that were supposed to be broken by the people in front of me. I hate spiders, and a spider web in the mouth is such a horrible feeling. This happens me too. It's always just a string or two though, not a full web. I out it down to the wind. Even a slight breeze could blow a string over someone and down in front if you logged into my online banking. One of those letter 4, 7, and 8 from your password kind of deals. Did some banking, accidentally let it time out, tried to log in again and it wouldn't let me, eventually realized I had been using the wrong password all along. The universe just conspired for it to have the same letters at the appropriate location. Went with 2 friends to a condo they used only on the weekends. Myself and one of my friends were wearing sunglasses and took them off when we entered the condo. Because it was not a primary residence, furnishing was sparse. Couch, coffee table, dining table, a loft bedroom with a bed, dresser, nightstands, and that was pretty much it. We put our weekend bags away and then got ready to leave for lunch, but my friend and I could not for the life of us find our sunglasses. The condo was tiny with only a handful of places to put something, yet both pairs were missing. We gave up and went out to lunch. When we returned, everyone took a nap. I woke up with a start and found my sunglasses resting on my chest. This was in the loft bedroom, which was not anywhere near where I would have placed my sunglasses upon entering the condo. My friends were both completely conked out and snoring away. Can't explain it. My other friend never did find her sunglasses. Okay, that's freaking weird. Back in 2004 I pre-ordered Doom 3, which came with a pewter figurine of the man Cubus. It was sitting on my desk one day when I reached out to grab something else and accidentally knocked the figurine off. I never heard it hit the ground and I never saw it again. Strange, because a lot of people here reporting similar happenings. Was on a train listening to music when I looked at what time it was. After listening to a 3-4 minute long song, I look at the time again and it's 10 minutes later. To this day, I still can't explain it and swear that I only listened to one song, not multiple. Ever have it where you are talking or thinking about something, and all of a sudden you see in it real life or on TV? This happens way too much for me. Isn't there a term for this? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.